Friends, welcome back. In this presentation, we are going to see the toolbox requirements during or before confined space entry. I believe all of you know what is a confined space entry. To be honest, I have prepared one full-fledged presentation of 30 minutes defining confined space, types of confined space, requirements of confined space, permits requirement for confined space, hazards of confined space, a control measure for confined space entry, and what is buddy system. I would encourage you to please go through that presentation. This is a very good presentation. This is 30 minutes, but you have to go through this presentation for 30 minutes. Note this, what I have added additional. In this one, we are going to see only for 10 minutes. We are going to see the requirements of toolbox training for confined space entry only. Friends, this is about me. I am not going to read line by line. I would request you to go through once you are comfortable, when you have time. I have provided my LinkedIn profile link. You can use this and please go through that. This is IITC profile where we provide services to our industrious friends, our industries, depending on their requirement, and these are key competencies of IITC team where we provide the services to the industry. Guys, IITC is happy and allows you to this slide to train your operation team, maintenance team, safety team, construction team, engineering team, your procurement team. I would request you to please send this link to all of your team members so that they can upgrade their knowledge, they can enhance their skill, so that more knowledge will always avoid any incidents. Because the incident, if you see, most of the incident happens because of lack of information, overconfidence, complacency. When your people, when your team sees this video, they will understand what are the core values of confined space entry, what are the core values of control measure of confined space entry. Other than that, you can also use this link as a safety moment before any training program, before any meeting, to sensitize your people depending on requirement to requirement. Here, when I was preparing this slide, I had intention to, to give delivery to engineers, to maintenance team, to operation team, to electrical engineer, to safety engineer, to workers, to each and anybody who are involved in confined space, directly or indirectly. Let us start the must remember points. Entry into vessel is potentially dangerous due to the possibility of various reasons. First is oxygen deficiency. If confined space is oxygen deficient, so when person will go inside, probably he will or she will do asphyxiation and he will or she will be under threat. So oxygen deficiency is one of the hazards of confined space entry. Second thing is presence of flammable or combustible gases or liquids. This will also create a problem when you allow any person to go inside and there is a possibility of fire inside the tank, inside the confined space, inside the vessel, inside any restricted drum or inside of any restricted pipeline. We will see what is the level of flammable gas is required for entry, what is the minimum threshold value to allow anybody to go inside the confined space entry. Third is toxic gases, or we are into oil and gas, we are into petrol refinery, we say S2S, hydrogen sulfide. But this S2S may depend on your profile, on your confined space entry, on your confined space operation. And if you see the fourth one, it is like that only. That means, you need to measure the concentration of toxic gases or toxic substances which was stored, which was processed in that confined space. Remember one thing, never ever allow any person to go inside the vessel or inside the confined space without written and approved permit. Never ever allow. Because why it is required? Because this is a legal document. If something goes wrong with God forbids, then this permit will be scrutinized, and then we will come to know that what has gone wrong. So I would say that never ever allow anybody to go inside the vessel, including yourself, without having the permit in your hand. Few examples of confined space are like vessels, tanks, drums, large pipeline big diameter, heat exchangers, drain pits, and pipeline or any other equipment which are not made for normal routine activity, which has got restricted entry and exit, and which has got some hazards. So as I mentioned in the beginning of my session that there is a complete training program for confined space entry. I will provide the link of this training program in the description of this video. You may please feel free to go through that, or if you can also find in IITC confined space entry. You will find the video, and this is very helpful to anybody and everybody who is involved in confined space entry directly or indirectly. If you want to define the confined space, any place deeper than 1.5 meters, like excavation, pit, some, should be considered as a confined space. This is only one definition. There are three definitions. It is not made for routine operation. It has got limited entry and exit, and it is has got some hazardous substances or hazards inside that. So again, I will come back to you saying that please go through that presentation to clarify all your doubts regarding confined space. Must remember, this point has to be delivered. This point has to be told. This point has to be given as a training to each and everybody who is going inside the confined space entry before entering. A confined spaces must be ventilated, maybe naturally ventilated, maybe artificially ventilated. We will see that types of ventilations are there. It should have constant flow of moving air, maybe chimney effect. Maybe you have mechanical, ventilation. Maybe you have induced draft and ventilation. Maybe you have forced draft ventilation. But continuous airflow must be there, because if you don't have the airflow, there is chance of accumulation of some toxic gases or some flammable gases. Air blower should be installed if necessary. As you mentioned that for ventilation you have natural ventilation, you have mechanical ventilation. In mechanical ventilation there are forced draft, there are induced draft. Depending on your requirement, depending on your size, depending on your toxic material, you can select the ventilation type. But whatever the type you select, the ventilation type should be very effective. Gas test is very essential point for any confined space entry, because confined spaces are not made for routine jobs. These are for non-routines. These are used for storage. These are used for flowing something. These are used for processing something. So that means this has got some hazards. Hazards of like what? This may have combustible gases or flammable gases. This may have less of oxygen. This may have toxic substances. So we must do a gas testing, and the gas testing must be done by authorized gas tester. There is a special program for gas tester. You may find in IITC consultancy channel. You can do it, and you can find it. You can do it. You can train yourself. So these three gases must be checked before a confined space entry: flammable gas, oxygen content, and toxic gases. Now question is, what is the limit of gases? Ideally, when a authorized gas tester measure the oxygen quantity, oxygen should not be less than 20.9 percentage. If it is less than 20.9 percentage, that means it is hazardous. Somewhere I have read that the minimum oxygen concentration should be 19.5. But here, for this point of time, let us remember 20.9. Combustible gases or LAR should be 0%. I have some debate on this, because getting 100% or getting 0% LEL in the tank, in the vessel, in the storage tank, in process vessel is a little difficult. Why I am saying? Because I have got more than 27 years of industrial experience. We have seen that at most of the time there is less possibility you get 0% LEL. 0% LEL is quite possible. I don't say it's not possible. It is possible. But in that case, you have to delay your maintenance activity. You have to delay your startup process. You have to delay your production. You will have huge production loss. But in the industry, normally we don't have N+1 configuration. So that is why there is a rush, there is a pressure. But I mean to say that don't kill anybody. Take a calculative decision depending on the TLV, depending on the TWA. You can take your decision. But I'm not telling you always take decision. But depending on your circumstances, you do a risk assessment, you do a LR as low as reasonably practicable, and you take decision, because you are accountable. If you take any decision, you will be accountable. Okay, hydrogen sulfide should be 0 parts per million, and other than hydrogen sulfide, there may be other toxic gases depending on your processes, depending on your operations, depending on your chemical configurations. Yes, as we said that in some cases, in some occasions, there are less possibility that you get everything 0. So that means your test results are coming out of the range. It is not in the normal range. So in that case, you have to use special equipments. If your oxygen level is less than 19.5 or 20.9%, that means you need to give a air respirator, breathing line air respirator or airline respirator. And you need to have some protective PPE, protective personal protective equipment, protective clothing. And you need to have some kind of forced draft or induced draft mechanical ventilation, so that you have got correct configuration of gases. Result of gas testing must be analyzed by a authorized gas tester, and the result must be mentioned in work permit system or permit to work. And this has to be seen by the person who is going to enter inside the confined space entry. So I mean to say that if I am a confined space enterer, I must see that what is the oxygen level, what is the toxic level, what is LEL level, and only after knowing this, I can go inside the vessel. Now question is gas testing frequency. Normally gas testing is done once in a ship on regular basis, and that too gas testing is done before the entry starts, and sometimes there is a continuous gas testing is required depending on your processes, depending on your toxic gases, depending on your complex operations. So continuous gas operation must be there. In some cases, I tell you, we have put a continuous gas monitoring inside the vessel, which has got CO2, S2S, and LEL. Portable gas monitors are there. This is like this kind of things. You can put it there, and this is monitoring the gas anytime on real time basis. And if something goes wrong, if this equipment starts beeping, then you tell your people to evacuate the place immediately. This is very important thing. Normally, confined space work should be done always with two per person, buddy system. Never ever allow any person to go inside alone. If in case during some circumstances there is a need to allow one person to go inside, then you use lifeline. Then buddy should be outside the confined space at the manhole. Then he has to knock. He has to keep talking to the people, so that he understands the person who is inside the vessel is safe and there is no problem. But normally, confined space entry must be done with a buddy system. Guys, I hope this information what I have provided as a toolbox training for the confined space entry. This can be used before doing any confined space entry to train your people, to train your, I mean, to upgrade your people so that everybody is safe. If we are able to save one person in our whole life, this is a very good job we have done so far. I would say that please subscribe the channel uh, so that you can get all this information in advance. And I would request you to please send the link of this program to your friends and your professional friends and your colleagues who can get advantage out of this training program. I hope these programs, I mean, was useful for you. And there are many programs and certificate courses are available on our website. You may feel free to go there and attend the program if you like. And I would request you to please put your comments in the comment section regarding this program or some program what you want to undergo, so that I will ensure that I will prepare this program for you so that you can go through this training as early as possible. With this, thank you very much. Have a nice day. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.